So Be'ezrat Hashem Yitbarach, we want to speak today about something that you do in a kitchen. Can you put your pot on your counter, or you should have maybe separate counters, one for basar, one for halav, and the pot that is halavi, put it in the counter that's halavi, and the pot that's besari, put it in the counter that's besari, or it doesn't matter. So let's start with the Rema. Rema says in Siman Tzadik Bet, in Yoreh De'ah, that whenever you have a pot, a keli, a utensil touching another utensil, even though they're both hot, and they are clear rishon, they came straight from the fire, they're not absorbing one from the other. Therefore, there's no problem when they're touching each other. Why not? Khatam Sofer says, because obviously there's some space in between, even as thin as a hair, still there's some space in between that doesn't allow the absorption from one to the other. And the Chavod Da'at brings a different reason. He says because the keli, the utensil, is hard, therefore it doesn't take one from the other. Regardless, the Rama says that lechatchila, you should not let them touch each other. Why? The Darkei Moshe brings those that argue that it might be a problem, and therefore we choshesh for them lechatchila. So again, let's summarize. You have two pots that are hot with food. One is basar, one is halav, one has isur, one has heter. Those pots that are touching each other do not become asur, and you should not do that lechatchila. It would become asur if there's liquid in between. And therefore, concerning our question, if let's say you have a pot that is besari, and you put it on a counter that right now had milk in it, it's not going to asur the pot unless there's liquid. Let's say there's milk on the counter and you're putting a hot pot that's clear rishon, that's yad soledet on top of that counter, that would be problematic because there's rotev in between. And kli bolea mikli belo rotev. That is the idea. But when we're talking about counters, or even when you have on the stove, a stove, should you have a stove that's besari and stove that's halavi? No. On the stove it's even easier because if anything that falls from the pot, it burns right away. So there's no issue. That's how the Rav Moshe finds and brings down in Igrot Moshe. But in a counter, there's definitely more also a terim. What? First of all, the counter is normally not a kli that holds food, and therefore that's one kula. It's not like two pots that each one holds food. Secondly, it's usually not ben yomo. If even something fell on it from kli rishon, let's say, such a thing, there's kulot on top of kulot over here. One of them would be that it's irui, that not everybody holds that it's oser, Rashbam is mekel. There's definitely considered not ben yomo. It didn't just happen today. Therefore, it's another leniency. There's other leniencies as well because Rav Moshe, for instance, brings down that those pots that aser one the other have to have food in them, not just empty pot. And over here, when we're talking about a counter, it's pretty much doesn't have food holding in it. Therefore, there are kulot in it. So those that want to be lenient definitely have what to rely on, to have one stove for basar and for halav, one counter for basar and halav. You're not putting the food directly on it. It's just the pot on top of it. Therefore, la halacha would be mutar.